Have you ever been hanging with a group of friends who shared an inside joke that you weren't a part of?
Maybe someone said one word or phrase and suddenly they burst into laughter while you sat there feeling a little awkward and confused. Inside jokes are pretty fun, as long as you're on the inside.
For some of you, that may be how church feels, like a bunch of people with inside jokes, phrases, and language that you just don't understand. If that's you, let me say something. First, we are so glad that you're here. It doesn't matter what you know or what you don't know about God or the Bible or church.
And secondly, it's okay if church talk feels like a foreign language to you at times. There won't be any quizzes to see how much church language you understand or how many worship songs you know the lyrics to. God doesn't care how many churchy words or phrases you know, and neither do we. So I give you permission to relax.
But if you've been in church for a while, there are some churchy catchphrases that you may be familiar with. We looked at one of those phrases last week, Jesus saves. Let me throw another one out at you. I'm a believer. And no, I did not say believer. Believe is a big word in church. Maybe you've heard people say things like, believe and you shall receive, or you just have to believe.
Have you ever heard, whoever believes in him, or I believe the Bible is true, or maybe share your faith with unbelievers? But we use the word believe in a lot of different ways, but what does it really mean to be a believer?
Think of it this way. It's kind of like a chair. If I believe that a chair will hold me up, I'll sit in it. If I don't believe, or I don't have confidence that the chair will hold me up because it seems wobbly or unstable, I'm not going to sit in it. Basically, it comes down to trust. But when it comes to things that revolve around God, church, Jesus, and the Bible, it gets way more difficult to be a believer.
Why? Because we can't see God. We can't text him. We can't hear him talking out loud. We can't go for a walk with him after school. And we also hear a lot of different opinions about God. Of course, we want to be confident in what we believe, but different people have different perspectives on what our beliefs should look like.
And then not to mention, we've all believed in things before that turned out to not be true. Whether it was the day you realized that Mickey isn't actually a real mouse, or you figured out Grandpa's coin behind your ear magic trick, or that your friend you trusted didn't keep your secret. We've all put trust in something, only to later discover that we were wrong to believe it.
Okay, so when I was around 10, while I was visiting my aunt and uncle, I got real excited because I was told my uncle and my cousins were going to take me on a snipe hunt. Now, I had never been, and they had been telling me all about their previous week's hunts and how catching a snipe was like a rite of passage for our family. So when it got dark, my uncle took us all out to these woods and gave us all burlap sacks and sent us all out running in different directions. Next thing you know, my cousins are all running around and hollering and falling on the ground and saying they had caught one, until finally it was just me, all by myself. But I was determined that I was not going to leave the woods without one. Now, after about an hour, my diligence paid off and I brought my wiggling burlap sack back up to my family. Now, the look on their face was pretty amazing. It was then that I was informed that there was no such thing as a snipe and that this whole thing had been one huge joke. I was crushed and I felt silly and betrayed until the skunk that I had caught scurried out of my bag and sprayed us all. It was the best joke ever, but I never trusted them again.
Sometimes it's hard to know what to believe. So with Easter on the way, how do we know for sure that we can believe this whole Jesus story? Do we have all the facts, evidence, and statements to know that we can trust, believe, and have confidence that Jesus, thousands of years ago, died on a cross for our sins and then defeated death by walking out of the grave 3 days later? And do we have enough facts and ideas to tell us why that's important to our middle school lives right now? Well, here's something to think about. What if believing was bigger than being sure we believed in all the right facts?
What if the more important question is, do we have a relationship with a person? Now, here's what I mean. If some random person told you some big news about your best friend, saying he or she was auditioning for America's Got Talent tomorrow with a juggling act that included flaming swords, you'd probably have a difficult time believing them. Why? Because you know this person and they're clumsy. They're scared to death of knives, and you've never seen them juggle anything before. But either way, if they were going to be on TV, they definitely would have told you. You know you can't believe that story because you know your friend.
And this is what made belief for the early Christians so powerful. They believed Jesus because they had experienced him firsthand. But more than that, they saw how trusting in him and taking him at his word was changing people's lives in the world around them. The people who followed Jesus weren't just saying that they had confidence in some facts about him. They said they loved and believed him because of a personal experience with him. They had an intense emotional connection, not to a statement, but to a living God.
When Jesus was arrested and on trial right before he went to the cross, he stood before the council of elders of the people, including the chief priests and the teachers of the law. They were the people who had issues with Jesus from the beginning. They didn't like who Jesus ate with and what he had to say. And this was their chance to make everyone see once and for all just how problematic this man was.
At daybreak, the council of the elders of the people, both the chief priests and the teachers of the law, met together, and Jesus was led before them. "If you are the Messiah," they said, "tell us."
"Tell us," the chief priests invited. "Tell us who you think you are." And this is what Jesus said back. "If I tell you, you will not believe me."
The leaders asked Jesus if he was the Messiah, and Jesus said, "If I tell you, you will not believe." In other words, the fact about who I am will not change your mind. It will not make you feel something for me. It will not make you committed to me. You are looking for me to tell you a statement, but I am looking for a relationship. I am looking for trust. I am looking for confidence, not in facts, but in me.
See, at its heart, Christian belief is not just about knowing facts and information. It's about confidence in a relationship with a person, Jesus Christ. At Easter, we celebrate that Jesus is alive. That means that you can have a relationship with a living being, not a set of statements. Don't misunderstand. Knowing what you believe and why you believe it is really important. But remember, believing in all the facts aren't the point. Belief in a person is. People aren't changed and moved by a set of statements. They're changed by experiencing Jesus.
Think of it this way. Let's say you run into someone you don't like in the lunchroom. What do? Most likely, you avoid them.
Let's say you run into someone you know, but you don't really have a relationship with them. They're in your English class. You may even know their name, but you're not friends or even acquaintances, really. What do? You acknowledge them, say hello, and move on.
But then, let's say you run into one of your best friends. Then what do? You acknowledge them, and then you invite them to come sit at your table, right? When you know someone, you invite them to be a part of whatever you're doing. That's the kind of belief God wants, for us to acknowledge him and invite him into everyday situations in our lives.
That's what you do when you have a relationship with someone. That's what you do when you know what somebody offers you in a relationship. You know that they're worth spending time with, trusting, and being committed to.
Whether you come to church all the time or this is your first time ever, there's a good chance you felt some confusion about the word believe. But I want you to know that to be a Christian, you don't have to know, understand, and have researched every single fact in the Bible. Belief is about more than facts. Belief is about a person.